The single biggest mistake that you can make in your life is not taking a risk. Especially if you're from the ages of 17 to 25, this video is the most important life hacks video that Ranveer is bringing you. Now, I'm saying that primarily because most of us are Indian and there's two huge issues with living in Indian society. The first big issue is that Indian society is extremely judgmental, as I've spoken about earlier, and this sense of judgment actually kills off the careers of a lot of young people. The unfortunate truth is that the opinion of others matters a lot to most Indians. And that's the first thing that blocks you from getting to your dreams. Now, you need to understand that if you land up in a job or a career where you're not happy at the age of 40, you'll have no one to blame except yourself. You know, in school, that feeling you got on Sunday evenings where you had to go to school the next day and you really didn't want to, imagine having that feeling for the rest of your life. You need to ask yourself, what's worse, being stuck in a job for the rest of your life where you're completely unhappy, or getting judged by Indian society, but still chasing your dreams, chasing that dream career, but most importantly, chasing happiness. You need to understand that happiness is not an end point, it's a whole process. So if you're stuck in a conventional job where you're unhappy and you have this target that, okay, one day when I'm 40, I'm going to be happy in that particular job, that's a wrong mindset to have. Happiness comes when you're enjoying today, not when you're expecting to enjoy tomorrow. At the end of the day, you need to understand that the opinions of your relatives and your neighbors does not even come close to mattering as much as your happiness. That's the first aspect of living in Indian society. The second aspect is that we're extremely obedient children. We're very obedient when it comes to our parents. Now that's a good thing, but it's got a huge downside. The downside is that besides just being obedient to your parents, if you're someone who listens to everything they say, you're also being obedient to a thought process that was existent only about 20 to 25 years back. If you ask your parents for their opinion regarding your career, chances are that they'll put themselves in your place and they'll be like, what would I have done differently when I was 17 or when I was 22? And chances are that they'll say you go for a conventional career like being an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, because 20 to 25 years back, that was the best option. You need to understand that times have changed and there are two huge factors in today's day and age. The first is the startup culture. There's a lot of guidance when it comes to starting out your own businesses. And the second is social media, something that has infinite power. Marketing strategies for companies are changing entirely because of something like social media. But let's talk about the first aspect first, the startup culture. Now, through this video, I'm not trying to push everyone to get into running a startup. I treat BeerBiceps, my YouTube channel, as a startup, but this was a dream I had. The dream I had was to make money out of creating videos, and that's what I'm doing. A startup is anything that just creates a revenue stream for you, that gives you a salary. And I've chased my dream and I've been able to create that revenue stream because of the startup culture in India and of course because of social media. What you need to understand is that both these factors were absent in the 1970s and 1980s, and your parents' opinions a lot of the times are still stuck in that era. You need to remember that the biggest revolutionaries in the world, be it Steve Jobs or Mark Zuckerberg or even someone like Chetan Bhagat, who's one of the most successful writers that India's ever seen, have always been dissed at the start of their journey. They've created a product or a business or a job where everyone else has doubted them at the beginning, and as time passed, those doubters were still left where they were, but these three individuals went miles ahead. The biggest revolutionaries always think of ideas that are dissed by society in general. So whatever your dream is, whatever your hobbies are, chase those. You'll be happy for the rest of your life. And if you have a vision for that you feel that only you can see and your friends, your family and everyone else is doubting you, it does not matter. You need to remember that the biggest thing in life, besides having that first idea inside your head, is actually taking a step in the direction of that idea. So if you're 17 years old and your parents are forcing you to get into something like engineering or medicine, something that you don't want to get into, this is your chance to say no. Go and tell your parents that you don't want to do this particular career, and go and tell your parents that you're driven about something else. Even if you're 22, hell, even if you're 40 years old, it's never too late to take a risk. Taking risks is all about taking that first step and breaking out of the crowd. If you have a vision, that's all you need right now. Even if it's a very vague vision of what you want your salary to come from in the future, that's all right. Step number one, break out of the crowd and take that risk. Because if you don't take that risk, you're gonna die a regretful person. And that's the worst mistake that you can make in life.